use that same stone to build the altar.
Mhm.
You think, and I'm not sure if it's in Isaiah where it talks about how the Messiah is the cornerstone.
Sure. Yeah, the foundation stone.
Yeah, and
Right.
I was kind of getting that out of that, like the cornerstone.
I think it's absolutely appropriate to look at all of the different references, the capstone, the cornerstone, the stone that the builders rejected. All of those references, I think, absolutely add, or will substantiate this, if you will. So, and I think it's important also that I think this passage in the very next verse, I think really does lay out, and he called the name of that place, and it's interesting because that name has an olive top preceding it, Bethel, but the name of the city that was called Luz, and obviously that name does not have an olive top before it.
But what does it mean?
Which,
Lose?
you know what, I didn't have it.
Okay.
No. I could.
That was part of the change to.
Luz means almond is like,
Almond?
luz equals almond,
Almond
and almond equals light.
Light.
is light,
Well, in Spanish, it's called light, luz.
loose, yeah. Well, and Lucifer, angel of light, yeah.
And almonds is resurrection?
Right? Yeah, well, yeah, almonds is they have the, almonds are on the menorah.
Yeah. But the
Um,
tree itself represents something.
Yeah, I'm not positive
All
of
right,
that.
it's on my list.
Yeah, here you go. Actually, and so my point here is that I think this really is implying that Yeshua is God's house. That he resides, that the Father resides in him, which is that model of how it's supposed to be for us. That we're supposed to reside in him. And he in us.
Do you think the stone might have something to do with, as we read further on, when they went into the land and they had surveyed the land and staked it out, they put stones down to mark their properties. And maybe the stone is being used as a marker for that location to signify that it's God's house?
Yeah, I think, I think we see that marking. Abraham does it, or Abram actually does it. And again, I don't think it's any coincidence. Like I say, it's the only place that I see someone laying down their head on a rock. Because I looked for references to pillow, and the pillow references all have to do with a rolled up, like, skin, and most of them actually have to do with, like, you know what I mean by a Boda bag, right? The water, something that they used to carry water in, laying their heads, which makes a lot more sense to me than laying on a rock, but,
Well, the
wait, hang on.
Part of that was that he said later that he left his house with only his staff in his hand. So he didn't have anything to use as a pillow.
Yeah.
Like the word stone is Evan, which is
Right.
a combination of father and son.
Yeah, yeah, the father, yeah,
Father and son.
right, father and son.
And also, he didn't just walk up and find this rock and lay down there. He found the rock and then placed it and laid down on it.
Right?
So it would be, to me, it sounds like he might have staked it out there. That was where he signified the place was gonna be.
Well, and he goes on in 22, and he says, "And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house." And there's an olive tav in that stone, so we know which stone we're talking about. And of all that thou shalt give me, now he's going to tithe. But, I don't think that's as significant as the fact that he's making that point, which stone, and that he has a part in this, that he said it, and that and it'll be God's house. Really, I mean, like 3 or 4 really significant verses, all just stacked in a row there, I think, and really kind of easy to just overlook or just gloss over, and I mean, especially because we're initially caught, and I think it would be very easy to read right past all that stuff while you're still dreaming about the ladder, and looking at the angels going up and down, and hearing the harp music, But so that's why I really made a point to point this stuff out here.
Plus we know from experience, there's no filler.
No, yeah, that's right. Well, we need 1,000 pages. We got to add a little filler in there.
Well, that's the first time that a tithe is.
Yes.
Okay, now this is one I'd like for you guys to think about it and give me some feedback. And Yaakov vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. Because he really wasn't yet.
Right.
He was the God of my father. And he makes that reference prior. And just to tie in last week with this, we talked about, the difference between Abraham and Lot. And we'll say level of faith, level of commitment, and what it meant, what that level of faith/commitment meant. I don't know. What do you think? Abraham, Lot. You're laughing, Dottie, go.
I'm afraid he's more like Lot at this point. A lot of times throughout the Tanakh, when it uses Yaakov, it's talking about his flesh. And when it uses Israel, it's talking about his spirit.
It's that character change.
He didn't meet God until Penuel.
Right, right. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right on target.
And I'm going to say he's more like Lot here too, and as we read on further, we see that in evidence also.
Mhm.
There's some things that he does, and things that happen.
He's just bargaining.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I don't think it's any coincidence, because we know we don't have any of those, that when we get to Judges later, we'll see very much the same thing. It's not uncharacteristic of God's chosen. And I personally, pardon me, but that gives me hope.
Oh, yeah.
That it's not completely against his will, that you might need convincing, or that your faith might wane, or, I think those are parts of what, look at that, we all can look at the people that he's chosen to do his will. His whole book is rife with taking humans where they are and bringing them to where he wants them to be. And so that, I think, that most definitely should have something for us, and he starts from the beginning, from Genesis 3, with that pattern. And, I'm sorry, but he ends it in Revelation 22, 18, 19, where he says, okay, seen this pattern all the way through, but beware, because you take away from my word, this is what's waiting for you, and you that add to my word, your name's, or you'll be completely taken out of the book of life. I mean, so he starts us there and lets us see, shows us who we are, if you will. And shows us when we are who we are and choose not to change, and where we are and we choose to change. He gives us really good, clear examples over and over again. I don't want to say he beats us over the head with it, but I take it at wherever you're at. For some of us, we may need to be beaten over the head with it, and that's okay. But I think it's just really, it's very encouraging, that our fathers, and I think there's one place in here where, or maybe a commentary I read, where how interesting it is that it's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's put in there with the founding fathers, if you will. So, okay. I think we'd all agree, at least at this point, Jacob is looking a lot like Lot. All right, now we get to this part, and I really mean that heading. We get hit with all kinds of people, and not just a bunch of names, First Chronicle names, that we're going to go through. These are major players now. They're all, you'll pardon the baseball reference, but the players are coming out on the field now, and they're taking their positions. One, it's interesting, and this is where I'll take it. This is kind of who I see Laban. Okay, we know he's the brother of Rebekah. We find out he's actually a man of modest means. He's not like Abraham or Isaac.